fellowship and prayer. We're also going to be having more flexibility with what our groups do. Some groups may meet every week. Some groups may meet twice a month. Some groups may say, hey, we're forming a group for 8 weeks. We're going to study this one book, and then we're going to be done. So you do that for your 8 weeks, and then maybe you have however much time off you need, and you jump into another group. We just want to realize that not every group needs to be doing the same thing, and some people might be desiring other things. And the whole point of the anchoring part of our discipleship process is not that we do one thing for the rest of our life, but that we are set in relationship with one another that's centered on Christ. That we're meeting together regularly to encourage one another and to keep one another accountable and to be a source of comfort for each other. And so there's, I think, going to be something for everybody moving forward. We'll also take hold of what's been good in the past. And we also want to expand our vision a little bit for what the anchoring part of our discipleship process means. So for these last 3.5 years, there's been a reason why we've done this, but when we've thought about anchor, we've thought one thing: anchor groups. And as we move forward, we want to realize all of the good things that are going on in our church and say, you don't have to just be part of an anchor group. You might be part of a CAM group, Christ Anchored Men. Or you might be going to Web. Or you might be doing any other number of things in our church that are accomplishing that part of our vision. And so we're going to be moving forward with anchor groups, a little bit more freedom and flexibility, kind of expanding our vision of what that anchoring part of our process is. And I'm really excited about moving forward with all of this, because the anchor groups have gone, I would say, astonishingly well, in that you look at most literature on small groups and they're like, you are doing good if you have 15% of your church in small groups. And we've pretty steadily had between 60 to 70 people in groups. So we want to just take hold of that momentum and keep going, while also saying you might need a break. I've had some people asking me, can we take a break? And I've always told people, you can take a break whenever you want to. I'm not your taskmaster. Do whatever you want. But as a whole church, take a little bit of a break and then reset and move forward. You can bring questions to me about what's happening in the future. The best person to talk to is probably going to be Christy Jackson. She's already been doing a lot of work talking to people about groups in the future and different kinds of groups we may have. And she's doing a lot of the work organizing that and putting things together. So it's not that I don't love talking to each one of you, but she'll probably give you a better answer than I would. But I just wanted to take this time to say, I think good things are coming in the future. Take hold of the good things from the past, move forward with some new things. I'm looking forward to it. And I really just appreciate your faithfulness and commitment to what we've been doing here. And I'll stop talking now. Thank you.
Thank you, Pastor. I'm looking forward to what comes next as well. Next, we're going to have the ministry team or the committee reports. First up is sending with Lynn. Is she here? Lynn? You're first.
Good morning. Well, I've been the team leader for the sending team since the sending team was established, which was 3.5 years ago, just as we were launching to form, to anchor, and to send vision. And we have many partners in Jerusalem, which is OKC metro area, including Guthrie and Edmond, Samaria, other parts within easy travel, which would be the Oaks Indian Mission and San Miguel Lutheran Church, who was visiting last week, and the ends of the earth with Pastor Didi Panzo and his sending agency, World Mission Prayer League. And we've provided financial, prayer, volunteer, walk alongside support and encouragement to each of these partners. And we see it as a reciprocal relationship, one that we gain as much as they gain from our relationship, and we try to keep it that way. we wanted to just have a core of major partners, but they've added, and I'll tell you a little bit about it. You know many of them: Project 66 Food and Resource Center, Hope Center, House Guthrie, Restore OKC, the Oaks Indian Mission. And recently, this last spring, we added Dylan Crum and family with Praying Pelicans ministry in Hawaii, and they would be part of our global or ends of the earth type mission response. If you remember, the Crum family is partially here half a year, and their children were here half a year with their kids, and they're just a wonderful family. And it was a wonderful opportunity for us, as each missionary has to raise their own money, and that's not, their main focus. And so we helped them in the spring with $5,000, but this past fall we sent them, they still had not reached what they needed to do, and so we sent them another $10,000. And I'll just like to read to you Dylan's response to us when we sent him and thanked him for all that they are doing in Hawaii. He said, "Amber and I cannot express how grateful we are for your financial and prayer support. This is truly so encouraging. We were both in tears reading this message. You all mean so much to our family, and we are so thankful for your continued partnership with us in serving people here in Hawaii." He will have another update coming soon, and we did actually receive it, and they have joined, I'm trying to think of the name. I think it's not Peace, but it's Christ the King Lutheran Church in Hilo, Hawaii. So that was a very nice report. They are partnering with other churches, non-Lutheran as well, and other agencies in providing a variety of needs and religious education to the group, bringing the gospel message to them. And that's what's important. Each one of our partners will gladly proclaim the gospel to the people that they serve, and that's one of sort of our criteria. In addition to that, all those things, we support 2 seminarians, which is phenomenal for one church to support 1 seminarian, 2 preschool scholarships, summer camp and youth mission trip support, and the Kairos ministry. And last year, we sent out over $140,000. And of course, that was in part because of the sale of the property, the parsonage property. But this year's budget is $74,000. So I just want to thank you all for your generosity to all that is happening in this church, making disciples for Christ. Coming up, we have Advent and Christmas. The focus will be Hope House Guthrie, and we will be collecting for families, for the women whose children are not with them, and for the men. And you'll see Christmas trees out in the narthex for that. In addition, we are purchasing, we've already got them ready to give the Hope House a new popcorn cart, because the one they've been borrowing for 3 years from us just crashed after the fall festival. So we've also bought one for the preschool, because that has a lot of outreach potential and it can be used by the church. I'd just like to, before I go, introduce the team, make sure you know who they are. They're not all here, and we have a couple changes, but I'd like to, Cynthia has served on the team from the beginning and before, and Cynthia Boehm, she is going to leave the team, and she's very happy about it. She'll still work with us, but she's not going to meet with us. Lena Broker, Let's see if I can remember. Sherry Stensrud joined us last year. Kathy McVeigh. And then my recent sidekick is Laura Zursky. And Laura and I, this next year, are going to be co-team leaders. And then next year, I believe she's going to take on team leadership of the sending team. I'll stay on, but she'll be the leader. We have 2 new members, and that is Bill Fox and Gary Jackson. So anybody interested, we don't meet that often for very long. It's just that we just keep track of it. What we're always wanting is how to keep the message before the congregation, and I think that's going to be our new focus. Oh, I see Crumbs back there. So nice to see you. With that, that's all I have.
You took my paper. Thank you, Lynn. Next, we will have Julia talk about the youth and preschool.
Good morning. Quick preschool update. I've had amazing shoes to fill this year with the retirement of Sonia Easley, and I think it's been a pretty smooth start to the school year. We're really excited about all the things that have been happening at the preschool. This year we have 60 students in 5 different classes, 13 staff members. 4 of those staff members are Peace Lutheran Church members, myself, Shelley Duke, who's our administrative lead, Karen Chutek, and then Tamsin Klinka is a recent hire as an assistant in our classrooms as well. So we're excited about that. We're excited to continue to grow the preschool. We are already looking at our enrollment will start in January for next year. We just had our meeting this past week, our advisory meeting, and we have decided that we are going to extend our preschool program back to what Sonia used to do in the past pre-COVID with a 2-year-old Mother's Day Out program. So that will be starting up again in next fall, where we have a 2-day-a-week 2-year-old program. And we're really excited about that. We had a lot of families interested in that for this year, and we couldn't make it happen that fast, so we're excited to get that going for next year. The biggest news around the preschool this week is that we have half of a brand new playground that got finished. So the preschool this year spent $39,000 to update half of the playground. So the north side of the playground is now AstroTurf instead of rocks, and there's 2 brand new structures out there that we have loved to play on this week, and even more fun they had watching them do all the construction and changes that are out there. Moving forward in the next year, we'll be doing a little bit of fundraising and finagling because we have to raise $75,000 to update the big structure on our playground, which is 26-ish years old and really is at its end of life. So that's our next stage. So we're really excited about the new playground we have and look forward to updating the other half in the next, hopefully purchase it by next December, January, and it would be installed summer of 26 to have the full update of that playground. We also this week, we were able to provide Thanksgiving food baskets for 4 different families at Northern Hills Elementary. Our preschool families are amazing. They always want to find opportunities to give and help our community. And so that's what we did for Thanksgiving, was provide those 4 food baskets. And then we're working in December to support our Restore ladies again. That's our cleaning crew that cleans the church. So our preschool will be providing gift baskets for those ladies as well again this December. I think that's my update on the preschool. As far as children's ministry goes, which switch hats real quick. Children's ministry and our Sunday outreach and our outreach, as far as the church side goes, we just had our Fall Fun Fest. For those of you that participated and came and played with us, oh my gosh, we had so much fun. Thank you for serving at that event. We had a great afternoon and a full event, and yes, we kaputs the popcorn machine. It made a lot of bags of popcorn, and it lasted until like the last 15 minutes, and then it decided it was done. So, but again, it was, what did we decide? It was 25 years old as well, so it had a really good life at peace. So, children's ministry we look forward to in the next month. We'll have an Advent event, family Advent event during the Sunday school hour where families come together to do some Advent planning for them to have activities to do at home as a family and devotionals. We will have the whole congregation Christmas program again. If you participated with us last year and got to be a donkey or an angel or a whatever, you'll get to do that again with us this year and join in singing and hearing that Christmas story. And then we'll have a Jesus birthday party just as part of our Sunday school hour again, and just in the children's ministry wing this year. So we look forward to continuing what we're doing and growing as we continue, and we'll be looking again at curriculum. Our children's ministry support team will be kind of coming together in the next month or so to look at what we're going to do as we end our curriculum with you all and what we want to look at doing going forward. So we're excited about that. Thanks.
Thank you, Julia. Next is finance. Kevin.
Raise this up a little. Hey, good morning, everyone. Yeah, my name is Kevin Clark. I've probably been boring most of you with financial reports for many, many years. I'm not currently serving as a board member or council member, but just kind of lending my services. Just recap. I know after the last congregational meeting, we probably didn't have a time to recap the numbers from last year, but for the last fiscal year, which ended in June of 2024, our total giving for the year was $503,000. Our expenses in total were $470,000. So we had a $33,000 excess, which was all moved to the Asset Preservation Fund. I had some good chats with Greg this morning, and I just wanted to emphasize that because we had an excess or a surplus for the spending, all that went into the asset preservation. So that number goes up and down a lot. Like, for example, we didn't spend as much on the building last year, just day-to-day things as anticipated, but we do have a lot of big things that are always coming up. For example, just in the first 4 months of this year, we spent $20,000 just last month doing some drainage and some door repairs. And so for this current fiscal year, which started July 1st through October, we're $20,000 over in our spending. And so I'm going to talk to you just a little bit about kind of the ebb and flow of our day-to-day expenses versus our long-term savings account. So right now, I don't want to get too much into Greg's area, but we have about $600,000 that we have set aside in a future savings account for capital needs and just basic building improvement stuff. And so we just need to continue to be diligent that just like if you're saving for retirement, you wouldn't say, hey, I saved for this current year and I'm not going to save for next year. You would continue to do the same diligent saving for all future years to meet your retirement goals. We need to do the same thing to protect our building and to make sure that we continue to set aside funds each and every year to help the future building projects that are going to come up, that we know are going to come up. For example, the air conditioning project that we spent $400,000 on just a couple of short years ago. So with that in mind, yeah, I don't want to get too far in Greg, but we did spend less than what we brought in, but at the same time, we still need to continue to do that each and every year to be in good shape. I wanted to touch on one thing that we did with the council, or at least I was part of helping or just making some decisions on. When we sold the parsonage, you remember we had $600,000 and change of proceeds from that. And so the council decided to put a big chunk of those funds over into an Edward Jones investment account. And so we do have two accounts now. We have our account with Citizens that we do our normal day-to-day business with, but they did not have an option that would really give us a good market return on the money. And so the Edward Jones account has very safe, very conservative investments, but it's getting us a good, very conservative 4 to 5% return. And so we're anticipating that we're going to earn $30,000 to $40,000 a year on those funds that we've set aside with that account. And so, yeah, Lyle put a lot of work into that, researching where a good safe place would be to put those funds. So, so we have that kind of work in there. I think I touched on the first 4 months of this year. So right now, through the first 4 months of this fiscal year, our giving is just a little bit less than $170,000, which is a little bit less than budget. We'd anticipated we'd be like $180,000, so we're $10,000 below our giving projection through the first 4 months of this year, which is a couple $1,000s per month under. But like I say, our expenses are much higher than anticipated with the drainage and the door repairs that we did. So right now we're sitting at a $23,000 deficit just through 4 months of this year. But I think what we're going to start doing, I think Donna might have mentioned that we have like a cloud-based thing. So if anyone's interested in looking at financials or budgets or future building expenses that we might anticipate they're coming up, I think we're going to try to post all that on like our cloud-based set. And I don't know if Donna's in here. Is that true that we're trying to put some of that information out, or we have something that the congregation can have? Okay, wait, we're figuring it out. But yeah, but anyway, that is all I've got for this morning. Thank you.
And now we'll go to facilities with Greg.
Morning. Just a quick comment on Kevin. You know, Kevin, I don't know if you all know how much work he does behind the scenes to help us with our finances here, but it's an incredible amount of work. So I think, Kevin, thank you. You're very humble, but you do a lot to keep us afloat here financially. Sure. So with that, yeah, Kevin touched a little bit on what I'm going to talk about, but I first want to point out that our facilities team is comprised of one staff member, which is Doug Falconer. He's our part-time, about half-time maintenance facilities custodian. He's not here this morning. He's probably at his church, but Doug does a fantastic job for us. So he's part of that team. We also have Les Broker, Harold Phillips, Richard Whitford, Jim Haskin, Alex Flom, and myself. And in the BD days, before Doug, a lot of these gentlemen like Les and Richard and Harold and Jim, Alex did an awful lot around here to keep the building afloat, literally, and keeping water from coming in and all kinds of things. So I would like to thank all these men for doing an incredible amount of work. Hopefully that effort diminishes a little bit now that we have a staff person, but thank you. Incidentally, Les tells me he's done with facilities team. I'm not sure if I agree with that notion, but we'll see. Let's see. So Kevin touched on the financial aspect of the facilities. So we have the Asset Preservation Fund, which is funded at close to $600,000. What we need annually to keep that preservation plan going is about $80,000. This year we budgeted $60,000. It's not going to work. We've got to get to 80. I've got the numbers to prove it. And if we want to keep God's house in order, this is what we need to take care of this place. So we will be challenging ourselves to make sure that we're putting enough money aside each year. We've set that asset preservation fund up so that we are now budgeting, so we've got the asset preservation fund, which is a dedicated account. Out of our budget, we are now, in theory, putting aside enough money to take care of all daily routine maintenance, repairs, and long-term capital improvements for the facility. All of that is budgeted now. Whereas in the past we had capital campaigns to raise funds, we are now budgeting, and we have a plan that goes hand in hand with that budget. So that's really important. It's a little bit of a shift in the way we've handled things in the past, and it's important that we all understand that. All right, talked about the part-time facilities custodian. Went through an incredible process last year. Started with 47 candidates. This was back in April. Whittled it down to 3 that we interviewed face-to-face, and we hired Doug. Doug has started on July 1st and has been doing an awful lot of work around here, most of which you probably don't even notice. So thank you, Doug, for that. So projects that have been completed. This is again B Doug, before Doug, I mean. So insulation, if you recall, we had some major damage a couple years back. We had some flooding that resulted from a broken sprinkler head up in the second floor of the education wing. Flooded a lot of the facility, cost us, gosh, I don't even remember the number. Was it 400,000, 300,000? $420,000 of damage. Okay, so we did some insulation, and when I say we, Richard and Bill Fox did some insulation up there. We're now doing a much better job of keeping track of the temperature up there. Also did a lot of replacement. Richard and I don't know who helped you with that, but Richard and some others did all the replacement of the fluorescent lighting throughout the building. Not the entire building, but most of it with LED. Back in April, we had a work day that was championed by Harold. Harold had a group of guys and gals come out and help with all kinds of stuff. Richard also facilitated the removal of a bunch of junk. If you remember the old shed that was on the back of the property, and some risers that were in that shed, and a bunch of other materials that had sat in the back for a while. We had all of that removed earlier in the year. We've received a bunch of quotes for roof. We've had basically roof inspections on different parts of the building, so we've now programmed those roof replacements for the appropriate time. We replaced the hot water heater in the kitchen, which was a fairly sizable project. In July, from July 1st through September 30th, we did a major project, actually that Kevin touched on. It was some drainage improvements along the east side of the education wing. That was about $20,000 worth of drainage, and included some French drain, a French drain system, piping, a major project that should protect that foundation along that portion of the building. Let's see, A&T, I want to say AT&T, but A&T Mechanical came in and fixed some stuff. They had some drain lines that were in the way. Filter replacement, they fixed that. I don't know if you noticed, but Doug actually replaced all the restroom faucets in the education wing, both floors. We replaced 5 exterior doors and resealed 1 set of double doors. That's all the steel doors. If you walk the perimeter of the building, you'll notice they've been replaced. Doug removed the water fountains at the request of the school, the preschool, on both floors of the education wing. Let's see. We had a leaking roof, and still do have a little bit of leaking at the juncture of the preschool roof and the gym wall. That was sealed up by Doug. It was just about took care of the leak, but we're now getting quotes for somebody to come in and do it, a roofing company to take care of that leak. You may have also noticed that we've got a pretty significant leak. If you've been in the music room recently, you've noticed there's a lot of water damage in one portion of the music room. That's primarily related to some flashing that needs to be replaced. So we're taking care of that as well. Let's see, I'm trying to skip through some of this just in the interest of time. We evaluated, like I said, some roofs. So we now have the roof over the office wing is scheduled for replacement sometime around fiscal year 28, and the roof over the office wing around 2030. Joe Palmer actually helped us evaluate whether metal roofing might make sense for these portions of the building. We ran the analysis. Metal roofing is very expensive, and it doesn't help us at all on the insurance side, so we're not going to pursue that. Let's see, we've got a bunch of other projects ongoing, but I want to focus on one. We are looking at a major project that would effectively seal the entire exterior of the building, all the walls, the windows, the stucco, what they call the ephes. So all of this, we've let it go far too long. The ephes, or the stucco, is again what I call it, is in poor condition. It should be sealed about every 10 to 12, maybe 15 years at the most, and we've let this portion of the building down here hasn't been done in quite a while. This building that we're sitting in was actually done not too long ago. So that's a major project. Again, sealing windows. Believe it or not, we've got about 344 windows in this building. I didn't believe it until I went around and counted them. So anyway, major project, sealing up portions of the sidewalk, sealing up basically the whole exterior. This is going to come at a price tag of about $160,000. It's a big number, and I almost choked on it the first time I saw it. But the reality is this is not something that we cannot do. We're also trying to obtain additional quotes, but right now the best one we have and the one that we're most confident in is the one for the 160, and it's one company that will do all of the work. We will be bringing this to the congregation because of the dollar amount. We weren't ready for today's meeting. We will have a special congregational meeting at some point in the near future. Once we have all the numbers and we're fully confident in what we're proposing, it'll go to council for approval, come back to the congregation for final approval. So with that, yes, it's a big dollar amount, and what I'd like to do is provide an opportunity for anybody who wants to really get their head around it. We'll have an opportunity for you to come and take a tour. We'll walk the facility, and I can show you exactly what we're dealing with. It's big, and most of you probably don't realize how big this facility is unless you've actually taken the time to walk the whole perimeter. Okay. With that, I'm going to fast forward to the end of this thing because there's a lot of other stuff, but I think I'm watching the clock, and I want to make sure that Lyle has enough time. I do want to give just a quick update, and Lyle gave me the liberty to talk quickly about the CAM, the CAM ministry, Christ-Anchored Men. A lot of activity going on, a lot of excitement around this ministry. Our leadership team has been meeting on a regular basis. In fact, we're meeting today. We had our big event, Success That Matters, a few weeks ago. Probably, goodness, it was back in September. And from that, so we had 30 men participate in that Success That Matters event, and we had 20 men approximately that are meeting weekly or bi-weekly and continuing the discussion about Success That Matters. And it's something that's called 16 Reflections That Can Change Your Life, but it builds on what we learned in that two-day seminar. So with that, there's a lot of activity going on. Important activity, I might add, because activity isn't necessarily success, but we have a lot of good things happening for the men in the congregation. If you're a man in this congregation, you're part of our men's ministry, like it or not. And you may not realize the ways that you're involved yet, but our men's ministry, this CAM, is all-inclusive, and it includes every man in this congregation. So we're really excited about what's happening and looking forward to see what the future holds for CAM. Thanks, Lyle.
Okay, that concludes the portion of the ministry team or committee reports. I want to give the opportunity for anybody in the congregation that has any questions for any of the team members before I move forward. Any questions or discussion? Okay, I also want to, yes, Joe. Yeah, that's fine. Either way, and Greg has emailed me those as well, so we can get those to Donna, and she can shoot out the facility team reports to the whole congregation if you wish. The first time I heard the number, I fell out of my chair at work as well, and then the council had an opportunity before our council meeting in September to actually walk the building and have it pointed out to us, and it didn't take about halfway around this building before I realized why the number was so high. And so we want to do our due diligence on this. We also want to make sure that we, run through the process correctly. So once we have just echoing what Greg said, once we have an estimate that we're comfortable with, we will bring it to the congregation after the council approves it for town hall style meetings if we want, have as many questions and have as many concerns answered as possible, and then we will call a special congregational meeting to, with that as the sole agenda item, to vote on authorizing the facilities team to make those repairs before anything is done. With that in mind, the council's report is next, and what we have, we spent a lot of time in January when we went to our council retreat talking about the Constitution and the bylaws and the continuing resolutions. It's actually in the Constitution that the council is responsible for reviewing those documents each year and proposing changes. We just approved a new Constitution a few years ago, so we hadn't really done that in a couple of years. And so over the past year, we've kind of taken a deep dive. And happy to report there's really not a ton that we felt we needed to change. The one thing that we did see is in the bylaws, it says that there are supposed to be 2 meetings a year, one in June one in May and one in November. I believe 3 of the past 4 years we've actually had that first meeting in June and not May. And so we wanted to give ourselves a little bit of flexibility to say, we want 2 meetings a year, twice annually. That way we're just sort of in line with what the Constitution says and not going, we don't want to color outside the lines. So when you look at the attachment 1, that's what this recommendation is. It's just to change that language up to give us the flexibility. If it needs to be in May, the first meeting needs to be in May. The second meeting needs to, the first meeting needs to be in June. The second meeting most likely will always be in November because December is a very busy month, of course. So the Constitution also says we have to give you 30 days to be able to review these changes before we actually change. And so this presentation here, as this attachment, is simply to notify you that this is the bylaw that we would like to change. And then in the congregational meeting that we call for the facilities, we will ask you to either approve or disapprove this particular agenda item as well. So no voting needed on this today, just in informational purposes on the bylaw. Now, the continuing resolution change is a little bit different. The Constitution says that it is either a 3/4 council approval or congregational approval. Don't worry, we will bring those to you as well. Essentially, what the pastor, in the interest of time, I'm going to go ahead and discuss. Essentially, what the pastor will change is just the language surrounding the gospel project. That's all in the continuing resolutions, and so we want to take that out since that's ending and rewrite a little bit about what comes next. So nothing substantial in there, but we didn't have a language to present to you today. So just to informational purposes, we are working on that, and we will get that to you and ask you to approve that after the council's taken a look. So do you have any questions on those bylaw changes, constitutional changes, continuing resolution changes? I realize my change may not be the final version yet, but anyway, any issues with changing that language from specific dates to biannually? Okay. Next, I'm going to invite Phil up here. It is the moment you all have been waiting for. Phil, as the past president, was the chair of the nominating committee, and I'm going to have him give a report as to what they discussed and the nominations for next year's council.
All right, morning. I'm going to keep this very brief. The nominating committee formed about 2 months ago for the purpose of bringing nominations for the 2025 council positions. The committee consisted of myself, Jane Ratke, Lena Broker, and Julie Hostetler. And per the continuing resolution with our succession plan, we will be nominating Madeline Ratke to serve as president and David Ozerski to serve as vice president. The committee also agreed to nominate Alyssa Hostetler to serve a second term in her at-large position. And then we were tasked by the council to provide nominations for the secretary position and then a second at-large position. And so we took about 3 weeks in prayer and discernment over who we would nominate, and then each member brought back about 3 or 4 names. We reached a consensus very quickly on this, and I would say that is evidence of God's guidance to us. We agreed to nominate Brian Krieger to serve as secretary, and so that position would then follow the succession plan for the next couple of years. And then we chose to nominate Crystal Henning for the second at-large position. So,
Questions, discussions on those nominees? Everybody loves them. That's great. All right, so I will need a motion from the floor to approve the council nominations. Which one, or would you, okay. And do I have a second? Okay, so the Joes have both approved and seconded the nominations for next year's council. All right, do we have to do, is this a voice vote, or do we have to, I don't think we have ballots, right? All right, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Are there any opposed? Okay, great. All right, motion carries. That will be the council for next year. And while Phil was up here, I just want to take that opportunity to thank him. He is, I would say, by his mind, probably finally terming off the council. He has put in a long tenure, and I think he very much deserves a round of applause. And you know, unfortunately, he is our constitutional expert on the council, given that he wrote a lot of it. So, you know, I really hope that each one of you can go and thank him for his service to the church over the last several years, and we'll miss him on the council. So, Phil, good luck with your extra time off, all right? Moving in, there's no old business to take care of. Is there any new business that anybody would like to present from the floor today? Okay. Then we will move straight into adjournment with the Lord's Prayer. Oh, I'm sorry. Did somebody have their hand up? A new tree. Nope. Okay. All right. Well, if we'll make sure that gets in there then, since they've already been purchased. Okay. All right. So we will. Any other discussion, questions? Going once, going twice. Everybody wants coffee and donuts. Okay. All right. Then we will move to adjourn with the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come. Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. Thank you all very much.